Good morning. I am Amy Firestein, she, her pronouns, and I am honored to share leadership of today's service with Rev. Bran Lennox. As a member here for 20 years and having witnessed so many changes, I am very excited to see what this year brings with Rev. Bran. If all our services moving forward are as electrically charged as last week, I'm going to need to start wearing sneakers with strong rubber soles to keep myself grounded. So, keeping our frizzy hair to a minimum, we welcome you to celebrate in the transformative power of religious community. Whoever you are, wherever you live, whomever you love, whatever you do for a living, you are welcome at the Unitarian Church of Harrisburg. We invite you to join us for coffee hour following this morning's service, either downstairs or on Zoom, online or in person. We're glad you're here.
At times, our calling to community challenges us to learn as we build the foundations of deeper relationships. The time we share on Sunday mornings is a time to explore the learning and introspection needed to approach this life-giving work. We have chosen to bring ourselves here to this sanctuary to gather as a community of faith. We join together in solidarity as a covenanted people who are drawn together by the promise of connection and the mysterious pull of the unanswerable. We draw on experiences of love and of wonder to lift our hearts and move us beyond the mundane. As seekers, wanderers, appreciators of nature, and creators of connection, our paths have converged today so that we might become present to the spirit that is worship. And so, let us worship together. Each week it is our tradition to light a chalice which casts a circle of light to hold us all. As we create anew this symbol of our shared faith, let's reflect on these words from Kelly Wiseman Aspruth Jackson. What is this fire? A match, a wick, a flame. What is this place? Wood and stone and glass. Yet here we have gathered in this place before this flame, making each holy by our presence here together.
Good morning. So today's story is titled The Rabbit Listened by Corey Dorfield. One day, Taylor decided to build something
Something new, something special, something amazing. Taylor was so proud. But then, out of nowhere, things came crashing down. The chicken was the first to notice. Cluck, cluck, what a shame. I'm so sorry that this happened. Let's talk about it. Cluck, cluck. But Taylor didn't feel like talking, so the chicken left. Next came the bear. Grrr, how horrible. I bet you feel so angry. Let's shout about it. Grrr, grrr. But Taylor didn't feel like shouting, so the bear left. The elephant knew just what to do. Trump-da, I can fix this. We just need to remember exactly the way things were. But Taylor didn't feel like remembering, so the elephant just left. One by one they came. The hyena, hee, let's laugh about it. The ostrich, gulp, let's hide and pretend nothing happened. Yeah. The kangaroo, tisk, tisk, what a mess, let's just throw it all away. And the snake, shh, let's go down and knock someone else's. But Taylor didn't feel like doing anything with anybody, so eventually they all left until Taylor was alone. In the quiet, Taylor didn't even notice the rabbit, but it moved closer and closer until Taylor could feel its warm body. Together they sat in silence until Taylor said, "Please stay with me." The rabbit listened. The rabbit listened as Taylor talked. The rabbit listened as Taylor shouted. The rabbit listened as Taylor remembered and laughed. The rabbit listened to Taylor's plans to hide, to throw everything away, to ruin things for someone else. Through it all, the rabbit never left. And when the time was right, the rabbit listened to Taylor's plan to build again. "I can't wait," Taylor said. "It's going to be amazing." Sometimes hugs say more than words. And we're going to explore some architecture today. So come on, kids, we're going downstairs.
We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious love. We hold you in our love as you
That's our theme for today. Chris is going to start us off with an ending note. Invitation to Brave Space by Mickey Scott Bay Jones. Together we will create brave space because there is no such thing as safe space. We exist in the real world. We all carry scars, and we have all caused wounds. In this space, we seek to turn down the volume of the outside world. We amplify voices that fight to be heard elsewhere. We call each other to more truth and love. We have the right to start somewhere and continue to grow. We have the responsibility to examine what we think we know. We will not be perfect. This space will not be perfect. It will not always be what we wish it to be, but it will be our brave space together, and we will work on it side by side.
I don't always do this, but this morning I think it's important to head off some confusion and foster a center of shared understanding by defining our terms. When I talk about listening today, I'm not talking about something that necessarily includes our ears. I mean listening as the act of intentionally receiving communication, And this includes uses like, I saw the warning sign, but I didn't listen. Or, I'm listening for the still, small spirit to guide me. Or, I slept in because I was listening to my body's needs. It's a kind of listening that includes situations like receiving a text that a friend has had a hard day and replying, I'm here, I'm listening. We are all capable of listening regardless of our actual sense of hearing. And furthermore, being able to hear does not automatically make us good at listening. While we're at it, I'll define what I mean by wholehearted. I think this word made it into my vernacular due to the works of Brené Brown, who is a social researcher and one of the preeminent voices regarding the impact that shame has on our lives. Her framework of wholeheartedness revolves around, quote, the capacity to engage in our lives with authenticity, cultivate courage and compassion, and embrace the imperfections of who we really are. For me personally, I tend to respond to somatic frameworks, which means that I tend to locate feelings and ideas in my body and then build out from there. This makes wholehearted a powerful word for me because I know what wholeheartedness feels like here. I can apply the concept of actions like listening by floating situations through my mind and noticing when they're connected to that full heart sensation. So we have wholehearted here, and listening, the act of intentionally receiving communication. But communication is also not as simple as it seems. It's such a core human function, and yet the more we learn, the more we discover how complex communication really is. It's complex in every layer, from the physics to the philosophy of it. But what I really want to focus on is how communication is interpersonally complicated. You see, communicating is all about passing information from one party to another, and we do that using symbols. Words are symbols. Gestures are symbols. And those symbols are useful because they have a meaning attached to them. So when we communicate, we're trying to get the meaning behind our symbols into another person's skull with as little data loss or confusion as possible. And this is where it gets really perplexing. Picture this. Imagine person A is writing a letter to person B. Person A, against all odds, is so meticulous and so creative that they chose exactly the right words to frame their ideas, and they seal the envelope on the most perfect letter ever written. A job well done. Well, no, we've only accomplished half of the task, because person B still has to receive the letter and read the letter and interpret it in all the same ways that person A intended it to be interpreted. Even the slightest variation in interpretation, whether from differences in dialect or life experience, results in some amount of data loss, and that means the meaning changes. The slight mismatch between intended meaning and interpreted meaning is present in every single conversation that takes place between human beings. As galling as it is to think about, you can never say anything and know that your meaning was clear. And you can never hear anything and know for sure what was meant. The only way to guarantee that you are correct is to approach all communications with a measure of uncertainty. Only by accepting that we do not know do we begin to know. When it comes to listening to one another, there are many pitfalls that can get in the way. As I've just discussed, the assumption of clarity is a big one. And the second is also a slippery monster of a concept. In professional circles, it's usually called transference. The closest thing to transference in everyday language is probably projection. Essentially, it's where the person that you're with reminds you of your sister-in-law or your neighbor or the kid who sat in front of you in 5th grade, and you subconsciously treat that person differently because of the relationship you have with the person you're reminded of. Transference happens to everybody. It is a natural part of the human psychological structure to recognize patterns and use them to inform our actions and reactions. It can become a problem, though, when, for example, that kid who sat in front of you in 5th grade used to bully you. Because then your reactions to a person who reminds you of her might default to the defensive. Your lens of interpretation has become toned by the hostility of a dynamic which is no longer present. Your nervous system might even prevent you from exploring the questions you would usually ask because it associates the interaction with a dangerous person and therefore perceives danger. In order to truly listen to someone, we have to be open to asking a lot of deep questions about the true meaning of their words, and we have to be willing to be wrong. Neither of these is the state of mind most conducive to surviving a threat, so it's extremely difficult to listen well while in a threatened state. Transference can work the other way too, though. It motivates us sometimes to special levels of compassion. If we are subconsciously reminded of someone that we love, then we're likely to be inspired to interpret the other's communication through a lens of familiarity. This can also happen even if the person doesn't particularly remind us of someone, but if the situation does. Say you're listening to a neighbor describe their struggles with an ailing spouse. It might remind you of what you went through when your own spouse was sick. Your heart might really go out to this neighbor, and this ability to relate can create a very special connection of comfort. Caution is necessary, however, because you might also be reflexively filling in their story with details from your own experience. You might find yourself assuming that what was helpful to you then would be helpful to your neighbor now. And this has the potential to be a barrier to true listening. So if transference is such a normal occurrence, what can we hope to do about it? The good news is that a little self-awareness goes a long way. If you're able to get into the practice of saying, that friend reminds me of my aunt, it gives you a little bit of distance from the association. It can give you the spaciousness to notice if your inner reactions are being distorted by that dynamic, and that spaciousness might free you up to go back to asking questions and to curiosity. It takes practice to work on the shifts in perspective necessary to overcome our assumptions of clarity and tendencies towards transference. But with intention, both are surmountable and prepare us for a more visceral challenge. Overcoming the highest barrier to wholehearted listening requires us to inspect fear. There are all sorts of ways that fear prevents us from listening. Sometimes that fear is very warranted and understandable. I am afraid to hear speeches from transphobic politicians because I'm afraid of how angry and sad it will make me feel. My friend is not willing to listen to her ex-partner who treated her poorly because she's afraid of it drawing her back into old emotional patterns. It's okay to set a boundary around not listening to someone if you are not trying to sustain a conscientious relationship with them. But when we do want to be in relationship with others, like we do here in this room, we have something of an obligation to listen well to each other. And sometimes that means facing our fears. Here are some reasons why we might feel resistance to listening to each other. And I should mention that I have at some point in time experienced every one of the fears on this list. So if they hit close to home for you, you are not alone. I am afraid that I won't be heard when it's my turn to share. I'm afraid that I'll get bored. I am afraid that things are going to change. I am afraid that I will lose track of my own understanding of the situation. I'm afraid that I'll be proven wrong. I am afraid that I will have a strong emotional reaction which will cause discomfort to me or others. I am afraid that others will have a strong emotional reaction and I will feel responsible for keeping the peace. I am afraid of setting boundaries if this conversation goes in an undesirable direction. Many of these fears are about control. And it's true, an uncomfortable element of deep listening is the need to release control. Control over what is said, control over the outcome, even control over the conversation's pace and length. To release control, we have to practice listening with less ego and less attachment. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe in every person's inherent worth and dignity, right? And sometimes the biggest challenge of that belief is to include ourselves. To truly accept that our own worth is inherent, we must accept that no interaction with another person can be a threat to that worth. Letting go of control does not put our dignity at risk. Finding out we are wrong can't possibly damage our standing as humans. When we stop fearing these existential ideas about ourselves, we find the means to escape from shame. And when we escape shame, we get access to wholeheartedness. There is no greater sense of freedom and no greater truth of dignity than to connect with others from a place of humble assurance and unshakable centeredness. The feeling of wholehearted listening is embodied. It supports the deeper breath. It pulls us to lean in. It clarifies the gaze of the eyes. It is a beautiful feeling on both the giving and receiving ends. Though it's sometimes hard for me to accept, the truth is that this feeling is not always going to be accessible. I can aspire to it, practice it, use it as a guide, but some days I will not be able to reach it. What matters most when wholeheartedness is inaccessible is that we don't blame ourselves or punish ourselves for that. We can only do the best we are capable of in this moment, and then find our way back to the center and keep trying. This week, may we all experience the gifts both of listening wholeheartedly and of being listened to the same way, with courage and openness, with awareness and the willingness to be wrong. With curiosity and releasing of fear and control, let us engage again and again with this indispensable tool for building community. Through it, let us find ourselves changed. May it be so. Now is the time when we engage as a community in the sharing of our joys and sorrows, our concerns and our milestones. When we join together to hold each other in support and in celebration, we deepen our sense of interrelationship. we may find our sorrows eased and our joys magnified. I invite you to share them now through writing them on a slip or typing them in the Zoom chat. Please indicate whether your message is okay to share out loud. You can also honor whatever you are holding in your heart by placing a stone into the water of community. Please come down the center aisle, returning to your seats by the side aisles. Spoken or unspoken, our hearts join with yours in carrying all that life brings. I place one final stone into our water of community for all who are not here to share with us today. Anne Stillwater shares, I've been revisiting a 40-year-old relationship mistake, and your words, Reverend Bran, have been helpful in my process of becoming willing to make amends to myself. Thank you. Jim and Nan Kavanaugh share, we're with our son Dave and his family in Pittsburgh to see grandson Ben play football as a team captain and granddaughter Maddie play in a regional volleyball tournament. And Jim just became a field education supervisor for a Lancaster Theological Seminary intern. She will be helping the Religious Coalition for Reproductive Justice as a faith outreach intern for the fall and spring terms. The Ricos, Brittany, Carter, and Jack, share, Carter starts pre-K on Tuesday. He has been at home since he was born. This is his first time at school. Thank you to the school and community. We were able to raise $5,500 towards his tuition this year. We are super grateful. Jessica shares a joy. Jack starts school tomorrow. Tom Winner shares, Alice will be moving from Building 1 to Building 3 memory care at Ecumenical Retirement Community. It's a larger unit and hopefully will help in her journey with Alzheimer's. And Corey shares with us today, keep the Ness family in your thoughts as their youngest daughter will be in surgery for a mass cyst removal. For all that has been shared and those many concerns we hold deep in our hearts and yet remain unspoken, we journey with each other in love. I invite you to join me in the spirit of meditation. I invite you to find a posture that's just a little bit more comfortable than the one you were in a moment ago. Perhaps this posture will invite a little more symmetry to the sides of your body, front and back as well. And you may find your hands resting in your lap or folded. And you may feel your spine stacking up from the seat you're on, each vertebra one atop the other, with your head resting lightly at the top there. And notice for a moment where your breath is in your body, and whether there are any spots where that breath is getting stuck. And just notice. And perhaps noticing changes those spots, or perhaps it doesn't. And there's no need to make an effort. Just let the wave of your breath roll in and roll out, whatever the weather is like in your body today. Your eyes might be closed, or they might simply have a softer gaze a few feet in front of you. Maybe if you're finding tension in your shoulders, you might shrug and unshrug them. If there's tension in your face, you might wiggle your face around a little bit to try to get it to that tension to just move right on. And we continue to bring the attention into that breath. The air in this room, the movement and temperature of it, as it passes in through your nose or mouth, through your throat, down into the center of your body, and rolls back out. And you may wish to keep your attention on the breath, or you might turn your attention to noticing the stream of thoughts that are passing through your being. And don't try to capture them or stop them or make them go away. Just tune into them. And bring the attention back to the breath. If the breath is not a comfortable focus for you, bring your attention to the ground beneath you and let it stay there. Otherwise, continue to notice your breathing. And I'll invite you as you continue to follow that wave of breath. Anytime you become aware of a thought entering into your mind, just put a label on it. Label it hearing. Label it hearing. Notice it and bring your attention back to your breath. Hearing. And let's share a moment of silence together, continuing our meditation and continuing to just label those thoughts, hearing as they drift on through. I'll call you back in a moment. Let's begin to return our attention to this shared space. In your own time, you might bring a little movement to your fingers and toes. Let your eyes drift open if they were shut. Let's take one deeper, more cleansing breath together as we return into this shared time. And let's join in song, but first, snapping. Keep your heart wide open, though the waves wanna push you around. You've gotta keep your heart wide open till your faith brings you back to solid ground. You keep your heart wide open, though the waves wanna push you around. You've gotta keep your heart wide open till your faith brings you back to solid ground. Keep my heart, I'm gonna keep my heart wide open, though the waves wanna push, though the waves wanna push me around. I'm gonna keep my heart, I'm gonna keep my heart wide open till my faith brings me back, till my faith brings me back. Next slide, please. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open, though the waves wanna push, Though the waves wanna push me around, I'm gonna keep my heart wide open. Though the faith brings me back to solid ground. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open. Wanna push, though the waves wanna push me around. I'm gonna keep my heart. I'm gonna keep my heart wide open till my faith brings me back. Until my faith brings me back to solid ground. Nice.
The Unitarian Church of Harrisburg is, as always, a freely gathered church of free people. The church is created, sustained, and supported by us. Each month, we share half of our Sunday plate with a local nonprofit organization. For the month of August, we are sharing with the Dauphin County Bail Fund. The Dauphin County Bail Fund is a community organization dedicated to freeing community members from cages and ending the practice of cash bail. When people are accused of a crime, DCBF helps with bail using multiple criteria. If you wish to contribute online, visit uchbg.org homepage for options. Your financial support and commitment matter. Please consider giving what you are able.
We dedicate these gifts to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of compassion and action, faith and fellowship, hope and wholeness.
We now affirm our mission to encourage, equip, and empower, and we ask that you join in the affirmation of our covenant with one another. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is our gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
With
These benediction words come from the Reverend Barbara Hamilton Holway. Go now in peace. Deeply regard each other. Truly listen to each other. Speak what each of you must speak. Be ready in any moment to disarm your own heart, and always live as if a realm of love had begun. So be it. Blessed be.